Hello everyone, welcome back to That's English. Kieran, what are you doing?
Well, I'm painting with these spray cans. I've got a friend who's a street artist.
You know it's illegal to paint on walls in the street.
Ah, well, there's a difference between street art and graffiti, as we find out in today's documentary.
Walking around some parts of London can feel like being in an outside art gallery. Walls and buildings are adorned with elaborate and colourful images, many with cultural meaning and symbolism. Street art, as it is most commonly known today, has come a long way since people saw it as criminal vandalism. Dave Stewart works for Street Art Tours and takes people on guided tours around London's most vibrant and colourful streets. He explains more about the street art movement.
I think it's art out in the public environment, created by people who are not controlled by an institution or by an authority. Okay, so it's kind of independent art, it's not municipal. It's art that is there for us all to enjoy. It's art that we don't need to be terribly specialised or knowledgeable to enjoy. You know, we don't need to know all about art theory and art history and clever things like that. We just decide if it's something we like or we don't like.
As in traditional art, there are various genres of street art.
Street art can be subdivided in terms of technique as well. Spray painting is common. Stencilism, made famous by Banksy. Art on paper, paste-ups as we call it. Okay, art that's done somewhere else and then glued to walls, a bit like fly posters. Sculptural pieces of art, you have to hunt for them. But when you find them, they're beautiful, they're exciting.
So is there a difference between street art and graffiti?
That's something that 100 people could debate and they could have 100 different answers. Okay, for me, it's a question of audience. Street art is for us. Street artists want us to see their work and to think about their work, to enjoy it and maybe be impressed by it. Graffiti writers, they don't care about us. We are not their audience. They don't care if we can't read what they're writing. It's for other graffiti writers to be impressed by their style, by their daring, by the locations they've done the graffiti.
One of the biggest changes in recent years has been the acceptance of street art by property owners and even local councils.
People started to give permission to artists to paint on walls. The artists could then work in the daylight. They didn't have to be fast. They could take their time. They could use multiple colours. They could really produce art that showed off their abilities. When people started to see this more accomplished art, they began to realise, do you know what? This is not just vandalism.
Britain's best-known street artist, Banksy, is internationally renowned, and his work is considered extremely valuable.
He makes jokes. We get the joke in a piece of Banksy art immediately.
But Banksy isn't the only street artist to get paid for his work. Graffiti artist Sept has commissions from global fashion brands, yet in the past, he spent time in prison for vandalism.
I first got into graffiti in 1986, so this was before the term street art came about. And then I saw the book Subway Art, and this sort of was the first proper documentation of the New York subway scene. So painting on trains, it was the beginning of the explosion of hip-hop culture of coming over to England. Just from there really was completely inspired by, like, first of all the paintings, and then when I learnt that it was illegal, you're just sort of blown away of how on earth did they manage to do this.
With big art galleries choosing to display graffiti, famous pieces going for £500,000 at auction, it can be argued that street art is becoming mainstream.
It's part of sort of mainstream culture now. So, yeah, I think it definitely has lost something. Graffiti, true graffiti, will never really be accepted because the pure element of it is to be illegal. When it's not done illegally, it loses everything.
You see, street art is quite mainstream or normal now. They even invite street artists to decorate walls.
But the graffiti artist was sent to prison and he still doesn't want people to see his face.
Let's listen again to how Dave described the difference between graffiti and street art.
For me, it's a question of audience. Street art is for us. Street artists want us to see their work and to think about their work, to enjoy it and maybe be impressed by it. Graffiti writers, they don't care about us. We are not their audience. They don't care if we can't read what they're writing. It's for other graffiti writers to be impressed by their style, by their daring, by the locations they've done the graffiti.
So true graffiti has to be illegal. That's part of the philosophy.
Don't worry, I'm not going to paint trains and get myself arrested.
I hope not. Now, let's find out about the creative arts in other countries.
We asked our international friends, in which of the creative arts do you think your country excels?
Jamaica excels in music, and given the size of the island, the impact it has had musically on the rest of the world is incredible.
New Zealand excels in many creative arts, but I think it's the film industry that's really put it on the map, with guys like Peter Jackson producing Lord of the Rings.
Ireland excels in both music and literature, obviously with some of the authors that have come out of Ireland, being Seamus Heaney, James Joyce, Roddy Doyle, and the likes of folk music that came out of Ireland.
Australia excels in the visual arts, painting, film, television. There's something very unique about the Australian vision, and I can spot it immediately.
Canadians excel in many arts. We have many famous musicians and actors who have made it big internationally. I think Toronto is ranked in one of the top cities for theatre in the world. And it's interesting because also one thing that we have that no one else has is the Aboriginal art, which is very interesting. It's very graphic and colourful. It's one thing we're proud of now.
America excels at all of the creative arts, film, television, poetry, art itself, painting, everything.
Performance is really popular in England. We have a lot of great actors and singers and musicians, and London especially is somewhere where people come to learn how to be a performer.
Everyone seems proud of their country's creative arts. They mentioned music, theatre, literature, film and painting.
The Australian said she could spot the Australian vision immediately. She can recognise it straight away.
The Canadians said they had many musicians and actors who had made it big and become successful.
The English woman mentioned performance, acting, singing and playing music.
Well, now it's time to join Alex in the USA. Today he's in Philadelphia, a city of great historical importance.
It's also a city with some eye-catching street art and murals.
Hey there, today we're in Philadelphia in the state of Pennsylvania, home of the Philly cheesesteak sandwich. You see this? This is Philly's famed contribution to American cuisine. A long, crusty roll filled with thinly sliced, sautéed ribeye steak, melted cheese, and onions if you like. So good. Philadelphia was founded in 1682 by William Penn, a real estate entrepreneur. Penn wanted to establish a city of democracy and religious freedom. He named it Philadelphia, which translates from Greek to mean brotherly love. Philadelphia is considered to be the birthplace of the United States. I'm at Independence Hall to find out why. I'm with Rob, a park ranger here at Independence Hall. So can you tell me briefly about the history of Independence Hall and what specifically happened in this room?
Well, the building begins construction in 1732. Colonists get together in this room. The Declaration of Independence is signed here. Then 11 years later, the Constitution of the United States is debated and signed. This is the birthplace of the United States.
Wow. So the Liberty Bell is housed next door. What's the story behind it?
Well, the Liberty Bell sat on top of this building. It was a working bell. But the story of the Liberty Bell begins actually in the 1830s with the anti-slavery people. They used the words "proclaim liberty throughout all the land unto all the inhabitants" in order to fight slavery in the American South.
Why do you think so many people come to view the bell every year?
Liberty and freedom does not mean the same thing to everybody, and everybody comes here from around the world to take a look and think about what those things mean to them and to the world that they live in.
In 1846, after 93 years, the bell developed a crack and could no longer be used. This is JFK Park, known to locals as Love Park because of its iconic love sculpture. Philadelphia has a real arty feel to it. Traveling around, you notice some eye-catching murals and street art. The city's mural arts program currently employs over 300 artists a year. I'm with Michelle, an artist who works with the Philadelphia Mural Arts Program. Michelle, can you tell us about the program?
Yes, its main focus is creating public artwork within the city of Philadelphia that reflects community stories and reflects the themes that are important for the people in the city.
Can you tell us a little about this piece here? Aki Iyaya?
The mural represents the impact of immigration on youth. What you have represented is the image of the teen that's arrived to the city of Philadelphia. What you see around the circle of the young girl are actually panels created by teens that have crossed the border, and the images reflect images of loss, living in fear, or trying to navigate through their lives here in the city as undocumented teens. What you have on the other side of the mural is the representation of the young boy, and the young boy represents the child that's been left behind. What you see around him are the panels that were created by the youth in Mexico about their perspectives on immigration.
Well, it was great meeting you.
Thank you. Great talking to you too.
This is the Philadelphia Museum of Art, one of the largest museums in the country. But people don't just come here for the art. These 72 steps are famous. This is where Rocky the Boxer, played by Sylvester Stallone, did his training in the Hollywood film. There's even a statue in his honor. Well, see you next time in New Haven.
I didn't know Philadelphia was the birthplace of the United States and a symbol of democracy and freedom.
That's right. And weren't the murals striking?
They were. Did you recognise the steps where Rocky trained? Alex was really getting into the part.
He's pretty fit, isn't he?
I'm sure I could run up those steps.
Oh, I'm sure you could, Kieran. Well, I'm afraid it's time to go. See you next time. Bye.
Bye-bye.